Hello and welcome to our Macadel online classes. Okay, so today we are going to be working on a shift dress. It's just an easy way to make a shift dress, right? But it comes with two colors and a V-neck. I'll probably put up a picture on the screen so you see what we're talking about. It's just an easy, ready, go-to kind of dress and all that. Just an easy slip-on. So let's say the slip-on wear. That's what we're going to be learning, okay? So for my class today, of course, as usual, we have our tape, a measuring tape, scissors, rulers. You need your all kinds of rulers, okay? My straight rulers. I have a very long one. I have a medium size, and I still have my curve, okay? Your hip curve, whatever kind of curve, So just let it be a curve. Okay, so you have your pencils as well. I have my eraser, but I'm going to be working with pencil and with my color marker. That's because I'm actually teaching you, okay? And then we're going to also work with our measurement. Now, the measurement we're going to be working with, like I said, it's a free dress, so some of them may not really be necessary, but all the measurements I'm going to measure, I'm going to state down. It's actually what I'll be working with, okay? So you're going to need your bust measurement, okay? You have your waist measurement, you have your hip measurement, your hip depth, right? Hip depth is from your the smallest part of your waist to your larger part of the hip, okay? You can also call it shoulder to hip, so you can still take from your shoulder down to your hip, all right? You have your shoulder measurement, you have your sleeve length, wherever you want that particular sleeve to stop, so you're going to take that measurement as well. And you have the full length, the length of your outfit, how short you want it to be, already. So this is like a bit above the knee. That's what this is. So you can take your own measurement. And then for the armhole, if you watch my previous videos, I always say that for the armhole measurement, I have a formula for getting that, or we all do, so basically it's what most people use as well, which is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. Some people do up to 2, but I stick with 1.5. It's just perfect, okay? It's not really, we'll just use it to determine how much, but we're going to still go down, so you need that. And also you need your round arm, the sleeve, round sleeve. Wherever your sleeve measurement stops, take a round measurement. It could be loose, because this is actually a loose dress, all right? So after all this explanation, let's get into our pattern drafting. Okay, so I'll start by putting a straight line down, just so that it will help us. So I'm going to draw a line and I will come back and show you. Okay, so I'm sure you can see this perfectly well, all right? Now, for this outfit, the front and the back is actually the same. For the back, the only difference is that the back is going to be on fold, while the front, is going to have an allowance, because we're using two different fabrics. So I've taken a liberty to draw my top line. So the line you're seeing here is my top line, and the line you're seeing here is my center line. So this line goes for your center front and your center back. So your CF and your CB is actually on the same line. So having drawn this line, so you can call this your point 0, could be point A as well. So a lot of people have a different, some for Natalie Bray, you find out your point 0 is after you have marked, you come down 1 inch to mark your, but we're not going into all that anyway, we're just doing a simple pattern. So we have our lines drawn out, so we're going to now start imputing our measurement here. So we'll start with the neck, and I'm just imputing 3 inches. So we're just working with our basic, just mark it. We're actually not really using it, but you mark it. So you have your 3 inches, and you normally mark 3 inches down, but it's going to be a V-neck, so we don't need that, okay? So after marking that, you now take your shoulder divided by 2. Now the shoulder I'm working with is 15 inches. So 15 divided by 2 is 7.5, right? So I'll mark. I'm just marking. You've seen I'm just marking. I don't know if that's showing very well. This is where my neck is. This is where my shoulder line is. Now the next thing you're going to mark is, I had said you should take from wherever your shoulder stops, take a measurement to where you want your sleeve to stop. For this person, the sleeve length is 9 inches from where the shoulder stopped. So I'm going to be adding 9 inches. So from where the shoulder, I marked my shoulder line, I am adding 9 inches. Let me just turn it. I don't know. I think maybe this way it's better. Okay. So this is where I came in 3 inches. This is where the shoulder point is, and from this shoulder point I marked the sleeve length. All right. So from this sleeve, I'm going to come down 1.5 inches. All right. So just mark 1.5 inches down. All right. I'm going to drop my shoulder. So from the 3 inches that we came in, like I said, this is the joint of our neck. This is 3 inches. You're going to mark a slant line. It's just almost like what you do when you're doing your normal outfit. So that is it. Remember, I said this is where the shoulder stops. From the shoulder, this is the sleeve that we're using. We're not using, you can use as much as, you can use up to this point. She just wanted it to stop somewhere here. So you can actually use it as, you know, however you want it to be. So after doing that, we're going to start marking. Sorry, I have to just keep flipping this pattern paper so you can see well. So I'm going to compute all the vertical measurements first of all right? So now I had said that for the armhole, you're going to do, to get your armhole, you know, you're going to do a calculation. Your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. In this case, I got about 7.8, so almost 8 inches, right? So this is where it is meant to be, but I'm going to be adding 2 inches to it. So I'm still coming down about 2 inches. It is just to give it that freeness, you know, at the armhole part. So you can as well, maybe let's just mark this. I'm just trying to make sure that you're not getting confused. Anyway, whatever you have as your armhole, please come down, drop down 2 inches and just mark that point. So that's what I'm marking. And then you mark your waist, half length from your shoulder to your waist. So in this case, we're having 15, and then you mark your hip, whatever you have as your hip depth or your shoulder to your hip. So hers is 9 inches, and this is it. Okay, and then you now mark your full length. So the full length of this outfit, she's using 38, right, plus 1 inch. Okay, now also please keep a space for your half an inch at the top. Don't forget that, because you're going to add an, you know, sewing allowance. So 38, so I've marked plus 1 inch for sewing allowance, 39. I'll do the same thing here. Okay, I mark 10, 15. Like I said, please use your own measurement. So you're marking your armhole, you're marking your half length, your hip depth, and then the full length of your outfit plus your sewing allowance. All right, so I'm going to turn all this into a straight line just for you to see. Now what I'm doing here, you can as well do it on your fabric, but I had to use a pattern method so that, you know, it's easy for you to understand. Okay, you don't need all this, just like I make the lines long, because whatever I don't need, I'll take it off. All right, so now having done this, the next thing we're going to do is start imputing the horizontal measurements. Now for every measurement you're going to impute, you're going to add plus 3. You can do as small as 2.5, depends on how big you want the outfit to be, right? So 3 is okay, 2 is okay. From between 2 to 3 is perfectly fine, so you can take anything. So for the bust part, her bust is 38, right? Bust is 38, so we're going to divide Please always do your divisions. You can, if you know it off head, fine, but I do it. So I've divided and I'm having 9.5. So 9.5 plus 2 inches, right? So I've added 2. Like I said, sorry, plus 3. I'm using 3 because she wants it big. So if you want it small, it's all fine. So that's plus 2 inches. You can do that's plus 3. You can do 2.5, like I said. It depends on what you want, okay? So for the waist, her waist is 32. So her waist is 32. So I'll divide 32 by 4 and we're having 8. So 8 plus 2 is 10, right? So for the waist, I'll be sorry, 8 plus 3, not 2. I think I'm just used to 2. I forgot that she wanted, so you mark that. So for the hip, her hip is 48. Yeah. So for the hip measurement, we are also going to divide it. So you get your division done. Whatever you have is actually what you're going to use. But what I do most times, whatever I have here at the top part is what I'm going to use for the hip. That's what I do. Because like I said, it's a free dress. And then whatever I have here at the hip, you're going to minus 1. From minus 1 to 1.5, right, from it. So I'm going to minus 1.5. Alright. So like I said, it all depends on, it all depends on how fitting you want. It all depends on how fitting you want this part to be. Some people prefer it big, you know, but already the dress is big, so I don't want it, or she doesn't want that. So this is why I'm having this. So you don't really have to. You can actually just go straight, depending on how wide you want that part to be, and also depending on the kind of fabric that you're working with, okay? So we are going to extend all this into lines, to straight lines. Now, when I'm done with that, I'm not a fan of straight bodies, right? So for me, I always prefer to curve it because our bodies are curving, right? So that's what I have done to that. The same thing, I'll come to the hip part as well. I don't want it so spiky like this, you know, so I just want it looking well blended. So see what I have done to it. So I really blended it so it just stays on the body. That's exactly how I want it, okay? So having done that, we'll now come back to where our sleeve is. Now this is where your round sleeve measurement comes in. So for her round sleeve, I'm just hoping I did that anyway. So okay. So for her round sleeve, we're going to be working, I just need to confirm that. Okay, so the round sleeve is 18 divided by 2 is 9. Now I took it very loose, like I said, because of the kind of outfit. So it's actually very loose, you know, that's how it is. So it all depends on how you want it to be, okay? So it's 18, and 18 divided by 2, we're having 9, right? And please don't forget to add your half an inch sewing allowance, okay? So see where I have marked. I marked 9 and I marked my half an inch sewing allowance. So at that point, I'm going to still mark a straight line to aid me. Now that is where that sleeve is going to be. Now watch this part carefully. After marking that line, because this is where I'm actually, you know, that's where the round sleeve is. I will place this, my ruler has lines on it. Sorry, I don't know, you can't really see that, but it has straight lines. I'm going to place a straight line here on this slanted line. Now, if I place it, it's not giving me a straight line. It's giving me, see, my ruler is not staying straight because I aligned it with this line, so it's just giving me a slanted line. That is how it's supposed to be. Now, the other trick to it, if you don't have this ruler, please just come in between half and 1 inch. This, the underarm is not supposed to be the same, it's not supposed to be straight, right? It's meant to be slanted. So if you do have a straight line, now this is supposed to be my straight line. And if I want to measure this, I have taken off 1 inch. So you can just come in 1 inch or half an inch, is still very fine, okay? So having done that, you now need to give this place that curve. Now, some of these outfits, you can as well take it straight. You know, some of them just come in, they come straight, like from here, from the tip of this, you just blend it back here. A lot of people make it that way. It's also very nice. Maybe I'll use a pencil and show you. Okay. Alright. So that's it. So you can actually have it like that. It's also very beautiful. So you don't have to do the curve I'm about doing. But if you don't want that way, right, you're going to have to curve in. Right? Like that. I normally curve into this line. Into your waist. You can actually even curve it a bit up. It doesn't really have to go right down there. Alright? So have you seen that? So those are two different things. So you can use this or you can use this. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Alright? But for this, we're going to be working with this. Alright? So that's it. And then you now try to blend it. Like I said, everything is blending. Blend, blend, blend. Just to have that smooth, you know, curve. So have you seen? So I've blended that and we're almost done. Okay, now before I forget, I haven't added my allowances yet. Do you get me? What we did here was just ease. We have not yet added allowances. So when I'm done, we're going to actually add our allowances. You can add it on your fabric or you can add it on the paper. It depends on where you have space. All right, so while we are doing that, let's, you know, sort out the neckline. So for the neck, already we have 3 inches here. Sorry, let me flip so that you know you can really see this well. Okay. So we already have from here to here is 3 inches. Abi? Good. Now depending on how wide you want that neckline, don't forget that this is your shoulder. So I always have my shoulder marked so that I know how wide I want to play with this. All right, so in this case I'm going to be taking 4.5. Mind you, if I take 4.5 and I don't add an allowance, if I sew, it's going to come to 5. So it all depends on who you're making this for. So for me, I'm taking 4.5 and then I'm going to come down 7 inches. Right, so please, coming down, just take your measurement, you know, like that, and find where it stops. Start off. And then, like I said, it's a V-neck. It's for a younger, it's a teenager, so I don't really want it to, maybe that's why I'm doing 7, like I said. For me, for mine I did about 9 inches, but because by the time you sew your V, you're going to even be sewing it up to 8. So be very, very conscious about that. And also, the wider you open this, know that it's really wide. But you know, this can pass for an off shoulder as well. That's why I opened it up this way. Alright? So we're done with the neck. I'll keep it this way for you to see properly. Alright? So that is what our dress looks like. Alright? So we're having one side, the different color one side. When I get there, I'll let you know. So pending my cutting it out, I just want to add my allowances. So for this part, I'm just adding 1/2 inch. Alright? For this part, you can add up to 1 because we're just going to hem it. Fold it. Hem. No, hem is not the hem anyway, we're just folding it. Sorry. Okay. Then here, I already did my half incidentally, which maybe I shouldn't have, but I had added. It doesn't really matter. So if you're going to add later, then don't bother. Now for the side, we're adding 1 inch. Okay, you can also add half. Like you don't even need 1 because we already have too much of an excess there. Okay, so if you want to use 1, please use. We're all designers. You can be creative about what you're doing. Basically, what I'm doing here is to show you the basics of what to do. So I'm going to add these allowances and I'll show you. Okay, I really wanted to show you this part, right? Now, I'm going to add 1/2 inch allowance here. Like I said, for the CB is going to be on fold, right? That's for the back. But for the CF is going to have a joining. Now, because we're going to have a joining for the CF, we're actually going to add 1/2 inch allowance, right? So that you can join. So that's the essence of the 1/2 inch I am about adding here, okay? when I'm, like I said, I'm using this to cut both front and back. So some people will be wondering, so how do you want to do it? I'll just fold off this. Or I can add the allowance on the fabric. I'm doing this because I'm adding allowance. I'm adding my allowances on the paper. So that's why. Remember, we've already added to the down part. We added a 1 inch hemming allowance. Okay, so we don't need that down there anymore. Okay, and when you're cutting this part, so that you don't ask, but you did not close up this part now. Please, just put your, make it straight. That's all. All right. Okay. So we're actually done with this pattern. Is it not looking? It's actually looking very lovely. I can imagine. So now the next thing that makes it come out is always how you combine it. So now we're going to cut our pattern out. All right. So cut it following all the lines you have marked as your allowances. All right. So I'm going to cut it out and I'll show you. Okay. So I didn't just want to do this off camera. So we're going to create a pocket, right? A round shaped pocket. So what I did was to come down from your waistline, just mark down 1.5. So if you saw, I just did some tiny marks here. Then I'm going to use my basket because I really need the wide mouth. Okay, and I'll place it. All right. So when you're placing, place and take into consideration that you shouldn't enter all your seam allowances. Okay, so I'll place that and I'll just use a different marker and I'll draw a circle around it. Okay, all right, so that's part one of the pocket. Now this pocket is going to also have a little hole somewhere here, so I need to also try and look for something to draw that, so just hold on. Great, I think my mannequin does the job. Okay, so now I've kept a bigger portion here so that you can put your hand. So this part is going to be smaller, right? So I placed my mannequin and I'm going to draw the other circle I want for it. All right, so my mannequin did the job. All right, so that's my mannequin. It's always good to have all these tiny mannequins. It just helps you create stuffs before you do it in the bigger form. Sorry, we diverted a bit. Okay, so now this is our pocket, right? It's going to come on this. So now I'm going to copy this out and have it. So I'm going to use it as my pattern. So what I'm going to do is place this, copy this out, and have this as a pattern. So we're done with this and we're going to go over to cutting this on fabric. My name is Nita and I've been your fashion instructor. All right, see you in a cutting class.